and welcome to this evening's June 25th board meeting. I now call this meeting back to order at 6:06. Bienvenidos a la Junta de la Mesa Directiva para las Escuelas de la Valle de Pajaro. We do have translation coming, and it should be here within 5 to 10 minutes. Her name will be Magdalena, and she will be sitting right over here. Sí tenemos traducción que va a llegar en como 5 a 10 minutos. Y cuando llega, Magdalena va a estar aquí. Si necesitas traducción en español, pasa con Magdalena cuando llega. Okay. This meeting will be live streamed and recorded. If somebody would like to speak to an item on the agenda, they must complete a speaker card and hand it to Eva Renteria, who is sitting down at this end. We also have Trustee Turley joining us via Zoom. I also see some new faces here tonight, so I want to take a moment to establish some ground rules. There may be differences of opinions, sometimes strong differences. Please give those speaking the same respect that you would like to receive when you are speaking. This will allow everyone to be heard and for the board to conduct its necessary business. And we will now move to our Pledge of Allegiance. I will ask Trustee Navarro to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. And now I will move us to item 3.3, our superintendent comments. Dr. Heather Contreras, our superintendent of schools, will make a few comments.
Good evening, everyone. Well, first off, it is with a very heavy heart that we recognize Jenny M. This is her very last board meeting with PVUSD, and these flowers are not even close to what I want to say, how I can honor you, how any of us can honor you and the work that you've done. You have been phenomenal. You're going to wish I never had your cell phone number because I will be calling you constantly. I know tomorrow is your official last day. Thank you for everything you've done. I mean, even just hours ago, you were helping me think through particularly onerous problem. But thank you, Jenny. You've served us really well. I'm glad you're only a hop, skip, and a jump away. Thank you for being so helpful in my first year, and we are going to really miss you greatly. You are a tremendous asset. I remember a long time ago, as I went through training to be a superintendent, I had the honor of having a previous CBO train about how a CBO can look at a budget through an equity lens, through an educational lens, and not just through a business lens. And I was really impressed with that person and how you could really see what she said at the time was, I can take any budget and see where a district's values are. And I really believe that if she looked at your work, she could see that you value children and students first. So thank you for everything you've done, and we have some flowers.
Thank you, Jenny. And she's right. Flowers just aren't enough, but I hope you enjoy them and I hope they make your house smell good. Okay, one more thing. Yes, no, sorry.
Okay. So with that, thank you, Jenny. Let's just we cannot even do you justice, and I'm going to pretend. Remember in COVID when they used to have cutouts of people? That's what we're going to have forever of you right there so that you're with us. So our last board meeting, we had some discussion about immigration and our concerns for our community. And I think we continue to see more and more concerns around immigration and how do we continue to support our community and what do we continue to do? And that has been heavy on PVUSD's mind and hearts, and how are we going to keep doing the work that we need to do to support our students even throughout the summer. So after the last board meeting, we regrouped to make sure that we continue helping our students and their families to be safe. And so our executive director of our after-school programs and our summer programming, Jen Bruno, got right to work putting many trainings in place with our staff, for our students, and for our families in our summer programming. So I wanted everyone to be sure that they knew that we were doing that. And we found some great things too, to know that even when our summer programming is not happening on PVUSD school sites, because we do run a lot of summer programs, if it is something sponsored by PVUSD, our children are protected. And so we have put signage out to alert everyone to that, so that our families know that there are protections in place. I also did a little deep dive into PVUSD. We have a very long history of supporting our students. So starting in some of the very first raids that we saw with this national administration, 2017, we did adopt a resolution and some board policy. We also have board policy dating back to 2009. So these policies are there. We're going to take a look at them though to see if they need some updating. We had board policy in 2017, resolutions in 2019, another resolution in 2020, another resolution in 2021, a resolution in 2024, and 2 resolutions brought forward in 2025, all around supporting immigrants and our commitment to what we would do to help support the children in our community and their families. This year, as soon as we saw elections happening, we immediately began education. The day after December 5th, so December 7th, actually, we had a Know Your Rights family engagement workshop in partnership with CAB. It was held at Watsonville High School on December 7th. We also had what we call our Mini Mondays, and that was a Know Your Rights workshop as well for our family engagement. That was put on by our family engagement team. We had over 400 participants for that. We had children's safety planning, and we did a trainer of trainers so that we would have many people in the community able to go out and train others in knowing what rights are and how do you keep your children safe under any events. And we had 40 participants get trained so that they can go into the community and help others to be safe. We also trained all of our Healthy Start community school specialists and family engagement teams, as well as training all of our office clerks, all of our office staff in our district, and all of our administrators. We have continued to train also our district office employees and others anywhere we could think of it, and our DLAC as well. So we continue to look for ways that we can help. We reached out to Monterey County and we hosted an event that had 400 families attend at Pajaro Middle School. That was in collaboration with county supervisors and other assembly members as well. So that was well attended. So we continue to look for ways and we look for partnerships too, and we'll continue to do so throughout the summer. As a result of some of that, Pajaro Valley was actually honored with a proclamation by the County of Monterey for the work that we've done around educating our families, our immigration rights, and keeping children safe. And we continue to commit to that, and we'll continue doing so. And so I wanted to present this to our board president. It's a beautiful proclamation that we received from the County of Monterey that honors Pajaro Valley Unified School District and the work in 2025 that was done around immigration rights and the forums that were held both in Monterey County, but also in Santa Cruz County as well. So, President Flores.
Thank you.
So thank you.
Thank you very much. And I would like to also, our whole board brought up these resolutions that we passed. And I know Trustee Dodge was one of the first to speak up in 2024 to pass a resolution. So this is shared with the entire board. Thank you. Okay. Okay, and now I will move us on to governing board comments. This is the opportunity for each board member to take a few moments to talk about their standing committees. We will start with Trustee Navarro.
Hi, good evening. I hope everybody's enjoying their summer. By the looks of this room, looks like everybody might be on vacation or there's nothing terribly concerning on the agenda tonight. I just wanted to apologize for my absence last meeting. It was the one vacation I get to take with my kids this summer, and thank you for helping me set up the Zoom, although we had some technical difficulties. Lastly, I didn't get to say my speech last time, so I just wanted to say congratulations to all the graduates. I really enjoyed going to the graduation ceremonies that I attended and wish you all the best of luck. Happy Pride Month. Happy Father's Day. Happy Juneteenth celebrations. The No Kings protest happened to be on the same weekend we did our board training, and so I know a lot of us felt a little conflicted about where we wanted to be, but instead we decided to put this first and spend 16 hours over our beautiful weekend while we had a few minutes of sunshine because this was a really important training. So for all of you who were able to attend, thank you. Lastly, I just want to acknowledge the really frightening times that we're living in right now and to offer my support and condolences to all of the scared families and students that are out there right now. And I want to commend the work of the district and this board in trying to support our students as best as possible. We still have a lot of work to do. I'm very fortunate that we live here in California, and although we're not completely protected by that, it's a lot worse a lot of other places. So thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Carrasco?
I don't have much to report on. There's no meetings or anything like that. But for me, the message to the community is, like many of you, I've been torn and heartbroken with everything happening, but I want everybody to keep their head up and to also look out for your neighbors, your friends, your family, and stay strong as a community. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Dodge?
I'd just like to say good evening, everybody. And just quickly, I'd like to thank Janet Bruno. Is she here today? She's doing an excellent job of summer school. So hopefully, if your kids are just hanging out, not doing anything, enroll them in summer school. There's a lot of great programs. Get in contact with Janet Bruno. When I was in high school, we didn't have great programs like we do now. And so I always encourage everybody to take advantage of the summer school programs, or it's trips, science projects. I know recently I walked by E Hall and they had an RV and they had snakes going on right there. And I know I know YMCA was out there. They had snakes. The kids were able to, hold the snakes, and just thank you, Janet Bruno, for making summer school fun, because usually it's not. So thank you.
Thank you. And let's see, Trustee Turley, are you able to turn on your mic and say a few words?
Let's see if it works. Can you hear me?
It works.
All right. Well, I'm sorry that I'm not there today. I'm at a conference in Calgary at the moment. I appreciate that last week we worked through the bugs, as Trustee Navarro tried to participate in this way. I would like to talk a little bit about the training that that we had just before I left. A couple things that I took away from that. One is the importance of personal accountability and our own integrity and living up to our word. And if there are things that we promise or agree to do, that we follow through with that. Another thing I took away was that many of our meetings, long as they are, don't spend a lot of time. As we looked back at our minutes and what we've been doing, we don't spend a lot of time talking about student inputs, student outputs, and student outcomes. Recommendation is that of our time in official meetings, that we spend 60% of the time talking about students and student success, and we haven't really been doing that. And the third takeaway for me is our role as liaisons with the community and the importance of us interacting, having two-way conversations with community members, and bringing forward thoughts and concerns from our community members. Of course, one of the things that we are hearing so much about from our community is fear of what's happening in our community. And I appreciate the efforts that that the staff, our staff, is going through to make sure that our families are informed and prepared, as well as staff members. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and now for my comments. Since our last board meeting, I was able to attend our board workshop, which I will share more about later this evening. We have an item for that. And I also want to thank our staff who have been working so hard to make our summer school session successful. Thank you. I know it takes Jen Bruno and a whole team. So thank you to all those working. And I will be attending our summer school graduation ceremony tomorrow at Watsonville High School at 4 o'clock. So I look forward to that. Giving, second chances is always amazing. And I think it's going to be a really powerful ceremony, and I'm looking very much forward to it. I also want to say thank you to Jenny. I've learned a lot about school finances from you, and the clarity that you've given me, I will hold on to for my remaining time here. And I just thank you for that, because I know it's could be daunting, school budgets and school finance. And so you are able to explain it so clearly. And I'm very envious of Live Oak, but I got your number. So if I have any questions, I will be calling. So that's it for me. But before I move on, I do have a couple of announcements to make. First, we were informed that the letter of apology for Dr. Alison Santiago Cumbales did not require placement on the agenda, and so we just made it happen. The letter has already been written and mailed out prior to this meeting. I also want to apologize that our SRO contracts are not included on this agenda. I know they were expected. Additional time was needed to finalize the agreements. We anticipate that this item will appear on the next agenda. Also, the agenda setting committee met and considered a request for a board discussion item related to a school's choice to stop using a particular vendor. The committee voted not to add this discussion item into our board agenda because the committee is uncomfortable with the board appearing to strip autonomy away from individual campuses regarding their site budgets. In addition, the board does not have the authority to overrule the legal use of Title I dollars or community school grant funding, and as of right now, there are no allegations of inappropriate use. For those reasons, the committee declined this board item request as it might not be legal. What is legal, however, is if the board wishes to discuss further, we can, the board may discuss whether or not it wants to strip autonomy away from all individual schools. So that's something for future, perhaps. I have another announcement. The Agenda Setting Committee met and considered a request to add a resolution regarding ICE raids, and after much discussion, we also declined that one. We felt it more important to do more tangible, actionable items, as stated earlier this evening by our superintendent. We are going to do, PVSD is committed to protecting our students and families. And so that's it for my announcements. I will now move us on to the approval of the agenda. Do we have any public comments to this item? Okay, seeing none, I will take a motion.
I'll make
I
a
make a
motion.
motion to support the agenda.
Second.
Thank you. I have a first and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstaining? I saw your hand, Trustee Turley, so motion passes 5002. Thank you. I will now move us on to approval of our minutes. I have approval of our June 11th, 2025 board meeting minutes. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you. I have a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion passes 5002. Thank you. So much nicer to have you right here, Trustee Turley. We are going to have to reconvene to close session, so we're going to have to pause on 6. So that brings us now to our visitor non-agenda items, public comment. This is an opportunity for members of the public to address the board on matters not listed on tonight's agenda. Please note that in accordance with the Brown Act, the board cannot engage in discussion or take action on non-agendized items, but we are listening. Each speaker will have up to 2 minutes, with a total of 30 minutes allocated for public comment on non-agendized items. Do we have any public comments?
We do. Bill Beecher, Omar Diegues, Christine Hong, Julian Bellin, Chris Webb, and Dr. Barraza.
Good evening. I'm back to talk about how to improve our academic performance, and that's to kill bilingual education. Let's see why I say that. Sorry about having to do paper, but you won't let me do a slideshow. So 39% of our students are English language learners. Less than 50% or less than 5% meet or exceed the state standards. 40% of the English language learners will drop out of school. Very low. So the top Hispanic districts require transition to English within 2 years. And that's what they think gets them their higher performance ratings. So English language learners, here's how many we have in the school system from the first grade through the 4th grade. And then it's a linear fall off all the way down. And in talking with teachers and talking with students, it's the further you get behind, the more likely you're going to drop out. And by the time you get to the 4th grade, you aren't going to catch up, and we just lose kids continually. Now, here's what happens if you take the English language learner scores out of our academic performance, and the blue is the academic performance of your English language learners. And if you take that out, here's what you get. The orange is what the rest of the district has. That actually looks damn good. I'd say the district was doing well, but we're being sucked down because we have English language learners that just aren't transitioning. And if you talk to teachers after about the 3rd grade, it's over. So quickly, other foreign language students do well, Spanish speakers don't. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry to the audience, you can't see it. Oh. Next.
Is this going? Perfect. Hello. As a WCSA parent, I am glad to hear there is a date and timeline scheduled for the repair of the poo-poo field. However, the same parents had to actively track down the information. I encourage you to reconsider improving communications with families. As I looked over the schedule of future board meetings, I noticed there was one scheduled for Wednesday, 1st October. Whether or not you agree anti-Semitism has occurred at these meetings, we can all agree this district has had a very bad optics on its relationship with the local Jewish community. 1 October is 10 Tishrei in our calendar, also known as Erev Yom Kippur. It is the most sacred day of the Jewish year and often one of 3 days observed even by a-religious Jews. I urge you to reschedule this meeting. Perhaps Wednesday, 24th December would work. Lastly, I appreciate the multilingual programs offered by the district and wish PVUSD had the funding to expand this. Studies show bilingual education has many academic, social, and cultural connecting benefits. Perhaps one day an educated philanthropist can fund more bilingual education for our students. Thank you.
My name is Christine Hong. I would like to speak about the manner in which an apology be delivered. I realize that isn't agendized, so I have the capacity to speak on it during these public comments. The apology that you have mailed to Dr. Allison Tintiango Cubales should at bare minimum be read into the record. It deserves to have a public audition. Not only was Allison Tintiango Cubales injured by scurrilous claims of anti-Semitism, but also the failure of this board, I realize its composition has shifted, but the failure of this board to shift course. Even we know that you had all of the records available to you. And, I appreciated what you said, Misty, about the fact that you looked through it and you saw nothing remotely anti-Semitic about anything in the Fields framework. And so this is to say that failure to actually reverse course harmed the community. We came out here for almost 2 years. That was our precious time, our energy, our lives, right? And so I want to ask, in that letter, I want to hear it. Did you take accountability for weaponizing false claims of anti-Semitism against Allison Tintiango Cubales and or letting those stand? To what degree is this a meaningful apology? We need to hear it. The community deserves to have that read to us as well.
Hello. I'm here to talk about the Barrios Unidos, and I know you guys were talking about it in your opening statements about the contract, and I don't know what the words you guys were using, keeping it private, but it's not a funding issue. Right now, with everything that's going on in our community, around the world, with the ICE deporting our people, not only deporting our people, but we're also dealing with these bounty hunters that are kidnapping people. And on top of that, we're at a break of almost going to war with another country. And on top of that, the problems that our youth are having to deal on a daily basis, more than ever do they need mentors right now in school. More than ever do they need somebody to help them to talk about these issues, to learn about these issues, and to help them navigate through the school to be successful. The other thing I wanted to talk about, the resolution that Gabe presented on ICE, times have changed since 2024. It's way different now. They're breaking laws. They're tearing families apart. You guys, I'm sure you go on the TV and you see what's going on in LA and all throughout our country. How many families are being destroyed and going through this. We need a new resolution to protect our migrant community. And, you know, the apology to Ms. Alison Tiango Cumbales needs to happen public because her name was smeared through this community for a long time. When there was accusations of anti-Semitism, you guys were on it. We need to get that apology to her in public. And I would like to know how much you guys are paying this lawyer to be here. Those funds could be going to something else.
Good evening. I want to thank the board for issuing an apology to Dr. Tintiago Cabales. And I also think that possibly the lawyer is not worth the expense. I feel like they've given some suspect advice, and part of that is about the employee organization comments. I feel like their advice is directly at odds with 3.5145.5, and I did submit a card because I just want to read that ed code into the record. Also, since, you know, there's been all kinds of changes in our district, I wanted to read a little bit from The Economist from March 11, 2023, when they write an article on how to not close schools. Quote, "Dragging feet rarely helps. Small classes do not reliably boost results. Excellent teachers are more important. Training and rewarding good ones is easiest if they are not thinly spread. Planning ahead would save trouble. When New York City schools closed 10 years ago, it found enough time and money to shut some of them slowly, grade by grade. That gave youngsters who did not want to move out the option to age out. Authorities in Chicago have given teachers who seem likely to lose their jobs an early chance to retrain for roles in high demand." I feel like this is a good model of like how we should do. We should be very slow, deliberate, methodical, giving all our employees a chance to stay with us and fill a role that we really need. And additionally, I'm concerned about some of the things I've been hearing about some of our smaller schools from WCSA, from Renaissance. I'm worried that hostile environments are winning out. I'm worried that we have a pattern where somebody does something bad, they get defensive, they attack the victim, they reverse the roles of who's victim and who's offender, and then HR will be like, well, you know, you said this, they said this, and then it's kind of nothing. And if you're a teacher, you have more demands on you. You don't have time to be like getting into all kinds of nonsense. And so our teachers are at a disadvantage. I want to make sure we look out for them. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Dr. Barraza. I am here as a longtime member of the Pajaro Valley community with 2 students at PVUSD. For the past 20 months, myself and other members of the community have been coming here to advocate for the renewal of the CRE contract, which was not renewed because a few individuals, including former trustee Kim DeSerpa, made false allegations against co-founder Dr. Alison Tintiango Cubales's work. One of the requests we as a community made during the struggle was that a formal apology be made to Dr. Tintiango Cubales. I was recently assured that while the apology letter is not on the agenda, a formal letter of apology would be sent. This apology should not be made quietly, but should be as public as the recent apology to those few individuals who made the false and defamatory allegations all those months ago when they cried foul over comments made by current trustees when the contract was finally renewed. If PVUSD is truly about equity, then be equitable in acknowledgement of wrongs against Dr. Tintiango Cubales that were repeated over the course of over a year. Then about comments said in the heat of a long and emotional struggle. This is a time for leadership, not cowardice. Shows that you stand with the Pajaro Valley community and make that letter public. And lastly, I just want to say that it's really disgusting to hear such a racist presentation about getting rid of bilingual education. That is the most racist presentation I've heard. I'm glad that you probably aren't going to take it seriously. That is not how you deal with issues that need attention. If somebody was familiar with the research, they'd understand that bilingual education is a positive in every kid. We are the only country where one language is enough. Every other country, kids know more than one language. I really do not understand this thinking that one language is enough. And it's not just the bilingual kids that are failing, it's other kids too. Should we get rid of them too?
Is that it for public comment? Okay. Thank you. I will now move us on to our employee organization comments. Now is the time to hear from our employee organizations. Do we have PVFT?
So Bryce, do you want to make a comment? Is this 8.1? Because we did have 2 speaker cards for this.
Okay, is this working? Okay. So this is a letter was presented to the board this evening about allowance of public comment, and there was an agenda item 8.1 at the last meeting, which was the presentation of a report without any discussion by the board or action by the board. And so the requirement for allowance of public comment is a Government Code 54954.3 in subdivision A. And to make it short, the key clause here is that public comment has to be allowed before or during the legislative body's consideration of the item. So when there are items that aren't going to bear any consideration, it's just informational to the board with no discussion, deliberation, or action, it's not necessary under the Brown Act to have public comment specifically on those items as they come up. There's always an opportunity to comment on any item not on the agenda on such items, and on any items such as reports where there will be any kind of discussion or debate, then there would be an entitlement to public comment. But that's what the statute says.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you. You can proceed.
Thank you. And I am here representing PVFT as the incoming VP of Negotiations. Tonight, I want to speak to you about several things. But first, I want to speak to you about the experience felt by myself, along with so many other members in our unit. Dr. Contreras has repeatedly shared this claim to the public of transparency in your decision-making and in your actions. And yet, from the top all the way down, there has been no clear messaging this year. There has been no real answers provided this year. And there has been really a lack of vision moving forward. From the point of view of a classroom teacher, as I was this school year, but I've also heard from counselors, from SLPs, in fact, from all represented certificated non-management staff. This year has felt like chaos and confusion, and we have been trying to do our best for our students in what has felt like the most disorganized year I've ever worked in PVUSD. I know I am not alone in those feelings. I would even dare say our site administrators have felt similar this year. The chaos and confusion is now continuing into next year. As you have listened to budget reports, and always our budget reports state that the sky is falling, in no year have I sat up here and listened to a budget report and that it is not dire straits. I want to remind you that PVFT has been up here numerous times and stated that decisions that are being made because of these claims are not necessary and not necessarily accurate. And I'll speak to the layoffs that were taken to a vote. The district chose fear-mongering in order to get that vote that ultimately wasted time, energy, and more importantly, people's mental health and well-being going through that process. The last I confirmed and checked, all of the layoff notices that went out were rescinded except for a 0.5 FTE and a 0.7 FTE, which was a probational employee and did not necessitate a layoff notice. What that did was sow fear and chaos and disorganization, and it built a sense of distrust in the community. PVFT has been, and always will be ready and willing to work with the district. We have done so this year through MOUs that we negotiated for things such as the PV Elevate program, the PV High program, Mar Vista transitioning to K-8. But these MOUs come from our demand to bargain those impacts. If you want to collaborate with us, we need to be at the table for these decisions. What was repeatedly said during the layoffs was that we need to reduce FTE. And we have. We've continually reduced FTE each year through attrition, through resignations, retirements, and through the displacement process that we have outlined in our contract. A process that just this week, PVFT had to threaten a grievance with the district in order to follow it for a second round of displacements. Again, chaos and confusion continuing. You're now informing employees during the summer months that they will be changing positions and potentially changing sites. Why didn't this happen back in May? Our assignment letters are due May 20th. Why is Renaissance High just finding out that they will be transitioning up to 6 staff members to new sites? Why was this process not more transparent? Why are positions not being flown on EdJoin when we know there are vacancies there? This would allow current employees the opportunity to choose instead of being told. It appears that transparency is just a slogan to PVUSD and not an action. And the reality is that when you put educators last, it is our students who ultimately suffer. Do better. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anyone here from CSEA? Okay, do we have anyone here from CWA? Oh, there's Mike.
Check. Good evening, Board of Trustees, Vice President Dr. Navarro and Dr. Contreras. My name is Mike Floor. I'm here representing CWA, the union that represents our substitutes. There's a few things that I just wanted to talk about. First of all, I apologize for not being here at the last 2 meetings. I had conflicts with CWA e-board meetings. The last 2 meetings fell on the exact same day. 2 meetings ago, I asked a fellow member, a fellow steward, David Romo, to come and bring up a thing about the testing space. Dr. Navarro, you asked him to respond to you. I was watching, I had just gotten home, and I responded to you, and then he did in the morning, and you only responded back to him. I don't know if that was intentional or not. There's some things I'd like to talk to you about. I have some ideas. I had an idea I pitched to Dr. Contreras. It's a little bit of an out-of-the-box idea, but I think it's a great idea. Julie Edwards, I haven't heard anything back from you, so if you're watching this or when you watch this, I'd appreciate just a contact about that. So that's the first thing I wanted to talk about. Second thing, bargaining. We are in the midst of bargaining. It's been a 14, 15-month process. We had a meeting 8 days ago, finally, a good, productive, positive meeting, I felt it was. It was a Google Meet. There's aspects of the negotiations that I'm very pleased with. There's other aspects of the negotiations that are disappointing. I'm not going to get into that stuff right now because we are still not finished negotiating. So when everything gets resolved, then I will share what happens there. And there's an aspect of the negotiations that are related to the new sub handbook, the sub mentor program, as I'm calling it. We made some great progress. Me and Claudia Maharis have met 3 or 4 times. There was a new handbook written. It's really well done. Julie had it. We indexed it to a template on the website. And then Kit provided one as well that he worked with Maria, the substitute coordinator. And I'd like to see the two get intertwined. So I made a request to Claudia to share that information with Kit, whether that's happened or not. I don't know. So Claudia, when you watch this, please, if you could follow through with that, that would help the progress of this project. And I'd also like to meet again with you. We talked about it in May. meeting through a Google Meet over Zoom. I've had absolutely no response about that. So I'm here tonight to just sort of keep the progress going in all these lanes as the summer comes. I wasn't here the last two meetings and things weren't done the way I would have done them. And not that I'm a total control freak, but I've been sort of solo here and kind of riding this for 18 months now, trying to get these things accomplished. The sub-mentor program is got a lot of potential, but it's going to require some subs to step up into leadership roles. And it's hard to inspire subs when there's no incentive bonus. So there's an incentive bonus last year. I understand the budget issues and I understand the limitations. I was on the Sustainable Budget Committee. So I have an understanding of where things are at. But what we were asking for in the incentive bonus is 0.4 of 1% of what you gave the teachers. Now, I know the teachers deserve to have their one-time payment. They negotiated for salary increases and didn't get that. So it's going to be disappointing across the board for everybody. But if you want subs to step up and take a leadership role, and there are half a dozen to a dozen subs that are willing to do that, but they're not going to do it without an incentive and a little bit more money. So I don't know. Is there a way that another little cluster of funding can be reallocated or allocated towards our counter proposal to the bargaining that's on the table right now? We made a slight concession to what we were asking for, and I'm not going to get specific about it, but a really good way to inspire subs to step up and do a favor for the district would be to offer some incentive pay and or think about a way to raise the rate for the mentor sub. And I don't know if that needs to be collectively bargained or not. Our sunshine this year is for wages. You did add something to our agenda that we didn't necessarily sunshine for specifically, which was agreeing to pay subs a couple days to be trained. So along with that, it'd be nice to see a little piece broken off to supplement the potential mentor subs income. And if we can do that, I think by the beginning of school, we could have something done. And look at that timing. You guys have a great summer. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Do we have anyone here from PAVAM?
Good evening. This is PAVAM. I'm Jen Littleton-Bruno, Executive Director of Expanded Learning.
Lisa Diamond, Assistant Director of Expanded Learning.
Georgia Terrell, Assistant Director, Expanded Learning.
And I'm Heather Morin, our Interim SELPA Director.
And tonight we are going to showcase a little bit about summer school and summer programming. And we really want to thank our labor partners who are really lifting all of our students up. Throughout this summer program, we will have over 5,000 students engaging in summer learning. And my eyes are kind of watery, I have to apologize. We are starting summer learning at 6:45. So we're all a little tired, just like everybody else tonight. But summer learning has no time for us. It is around the clock and around the year. This summer, we are operating programs every weekday that there is no school. We additionally have started offering programs on the weekends as well. So our students and our families are being lifted up so much by so many of our partners. And so for summer school, it's Expanded Learning and
Extended school year for your special education.
And together we have over 200 PVFT staff members working for us. And those staff members are teaching around the clock to our students, and we're just so appreciative of them. We also have over 250 CSEA staff members. Both the PVFT and the CSEA staff are not contracted during the summer. They are choosing to work with our students and uplift our families and our students and show up every day. And we just wanted to thank them tonight because they are creating memories, they are keeping our students safe, and they are helping our families continue to work. And so our students are so lucky. They're doing academic programming, enrichment programming, and lots of opportunities. And this year, Heather and I and our whole teams, we worked together to really include our ESY students so that those students are not any other students. ESY students are PVUSD students, and Expanded Learning serves all students. And so we've just been really excited that our staff are working together as one to support all students. And so ESY students are accessing the same materials and enrichment and those services that our regular ed students are. And so we have had great success, I think. Let me go. We also have our high school program, and I'm so pleased to share with you, Nancy Zuniga cannot be here. Hi, Nancy. She is getting ready for our graduation tomorrow. And we talk about second chances. We have, I think, 13 students who have completed enough credits to graduate. Tomorrow, I believe there are 5 that are taking part in our small, intimate ceremony, and there will be a dinner that their parents come. Trustee Dodge joined us last year. It's a really great reception, and these students, they did not graduate with their peers, but they chose to buckle down and have faith in themselves and have shown up and worked so hard to get 60 hours of schoolwork done in the last 3 weeks, and they are graduating because that's important to them. And so if anyone wants to join us of trustees, you're all welcome. We'll be so excited to have you. This summer, we also offered our first credit attainment classes. And that is awesome. We do not want to be seen as just a deficit program. We really want to be able to show students in PVUSD that we are there for you and able to offer programming for all students. And we have 120 students who will be taking credit attainment right now and be going into next year with more credits than what they needed. Lastly,
I have had the great honor to oversee our enrichment programs this summer, which are mostly not science camps, well, that's part of it, but camps in general. And it is an amazing project that we've been able to offer open opportunities for so many families. And I really want to highlight the immense workload this has had, not just on the classified staff in our department, but in the whole district, whether it's purchasing, accounting, transportation, all the different departments that have really come together to make sure that all the students have these opportunities this summer.
thank you.
Good job. Thank you so much. Okay, so now we will move on to our action items. We will start with item 9.1, final approval of the 2025-26 Local Control Accountability Plan. This report will be presented by Chrissy McLean, our Director of Equity, State, and Federal Programs.
Good evening, Board of Trustees, President Flores, and Superintendent Contreras. My name is Chrissy McLean. I'm the Director of Equity, Federal, and State Programs. Last week, we presented the LCAP, and it has been alive for the public for the last couple weeks for input. We have not received any feedback thus far. After today, once approved, it will be going to the County Office of Ed, where they will then approve it, and if they will also make recommendations. If they make any recommendations, we'll be back in September to get it approved with those recommendations. So for this action, it is just the returning for the final approval of the LCAP.
Thank you. Do we have any public speakers to this item?
We have one, Chris Webb.
So I consider public comment a matter of accountability. And I think I acknowledge that there might be more than one applicable ed code, but I would say that the way we're operating with our employee organizations is against ed code. And I would point to 35145.5. Every agenda for regular meetings shall provide an opportunity for members of the public to directly address the governing board on any item of interest to the public before or during the governing board's consideration of the item that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the governing board. And I say this as somebody who generally doesn't agree with Bill on most of his things, but I respect his right to.
Mr. Webb, does this have to do with our LCAP?
Yeah, it's an accountability thing. I wanted that in the public record. I wanted to speak to 8-1. And, as long as you continue to do this, Board President, I'm going to always find some workaround.
You can use it during our non-agenda items.
I'm just saying that what you're doing is not right, and we should do better than this. Thank you.
Thank you. So now I will bring it back to the board for discussion. There was just the one, correct? Yes. Okay, so now I'll bring it back to the board for discussion or a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to support agenda item 9.1.
Thank you.
Second the motion.
Thank you. I have a motion to approve from trustee Dodge and a second from trustee Navarro. Any comments? Okay, and all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Any
Carol says aye.
abstaining? She said, yep. Motion passes 5002. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I will now move us on to our item 9.2, Special Education Local Plan, Area Annual Service Plan and Budget Plan. Report will be presented by Heather Murin, our Interim Director of Special Services, SELPA.
Good evening, President Flores, Dr. Contreras, and Board of Trustees. Yes, is that similar to what Chrissy shared? I presented the special education local plan about 2 weeks ago through the public hearing. And similarly, we have not received any feedback to it, and we will be working with county office as well. And we've submitted it to them for their review, and I bring it to you tonight as an action item to approve.
Thank you. Do we have any public speakers to this item? We do not. Okay, so I will bring it back to the board for discussion or for a motion.
I just have a quick question. I've sat in here for the last few years asking for information because the Pajaro Valley Unified School District is the only school district, I believe, in California that has control of its SELPA. And I keep asking for information. When did that happen? And I still haven't received a response about that. In my trustee area, a lot of people don't have faith in SELPA. I've worked with Heather Morin, and I know about the issues that I have to been working with, but hopefully we could continue to work to make things better with our SELPA. And I'd like to make a motion to support this agenda item to keep SELPA working for our students and our parents, but as we keep saying, hopefully we can work better and do better for our kids that have special needs. Thank you.
So Trustee Dodge, I'm happy to report that today I received our draft document of our FCMAT report on SELPA, and we will be bringing that to the board on July 16th as a presentation, and we will get the information about when we became our own district SELPA.
Okay, thank you. So trustee Dodge made a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Trustee Carrasco has made the second. I will take a vote. Okay, all those in favor? Sorry. Okay, sorry. So there's just seeing no other comments. I will take it to a vote. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries 5002. Thank you. Okay, so now I will move us on to item 9.3, the approval of the 2025-26 proposed budget and statement of reasons for excess reserve above minimum reserves. Report will be presented by Jenny M., our CBO.
Good evening, President Flores, Board of Trustees, and Superintendent Dr. Contreras. I am here to bring our 25-26 proposed budget and statement of reasons of excess reserves above the minimum 3% for board approval and adoption. Similarly to the first two action items, we brought this for public hearing on June 11th. There have been no changes to the multi-year projections, so we are bringing this back for approval and adoption.
Thank you. Do we have any public speakers to this item?
We have 3. Omar Dieguez, Christine Hong, and Dr. Barraza. Oh.
Okay, so none for this item? Okay, so then I will bring it back to the board for any discussion or a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Okay, so I have a motion from trustee Navarro to approve, and I have a second from trustee Dodge. I will take it to a vote. All those in favor? Aye. Any abstaining? Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0-0-2. Thank you. Okay, so now I will move us on to item 9.4, the renewal of our superintendent's contract, and this report will be presented by myself. Okay, so Brown Act requirement for approval of a superintendent's contract. I'm going to read this in before the agreement is taken to a vote. The law requires that the board provide an oral summary of the financial terms in any executive contract or amendment to an executive contract before the board takes action on such contract or amendment. In compliance with this requirement, I am happy to announce that the district has reached a proposed agreement with Dr. Heather Contreras to amend her employment contract as the superintendent of Pajaro Valley Unified School District. The written amendment to Dr. Contreras' employment agreement is before the board for consideration and approval this evening. The amendment contains the following financial terms. The district will no longer pay up to $15,000 for services of a coach. The superintendent position will have an adopted salary schedule effective July 1, 2025. Dr. Contreras will be placed on step 1 of the new salary schedule with a base salary of $268,536. Any future step increases shall be conditioned upon receipt of a positive evaluation. In terms of Dr. Contreras' contract, the term of Dr. Contreras' contract is extended to July 30, 2029, and all other provisions of Dr. Contreras' current employment contract shall remain the same. The board may now move to the consideration and approval of the employment agreement. But before we do so, are there any public speakers to this item?
The 3 that I previously mentioned, which are Omar Dieguez, Christine Hong, and Dr. Barraza.
Good afternoon. My question to Mrs. Contreras was, how many times this year were you aware of students being cited on campus by our SROs for things that were happening off campus? And what did you do about it? They were cited with students by SROs who are minors without their parents being there. Not only were they cited, but those citations hurt their future as far as getting jobs, as far as getting into colleges, and it stays on their record for a long time. Not only does it do that, but it also causes fear. It causes uncertainties in their life, not knowing what's going to happen to them because of these actions. Also, there was a survey taken, and the survey asked, what grade do you give your superintendent? Out of 234 students from Area 3, 11% said A, 0% said B, 22% said C, 44% said D, and 22% said F.
Dr. Contreras, you began your term in office with the Look, Listen, and Learn tour, but I hope that you can feel from the weight of so many public comments from the PVFT union representative that there's broad demoralization. These are extraordinarily hard times, and there's a lot about the structure of the board that militates against there being a sense of shared purpose and even open lines of communication. I feel the chasm here. I actually don't feel the chasm with regard to Gabe Medina, with Jessica Carrasco, with regard to Carol Turley, with regard to Joy Flynn. But the rest of you, I actually feel a chasm. And in order for us to be able to move into a shared and viable future for the greatest possible collective, we actually have to work together. And that actually means that there needs to be a heightened degree of transparency. It shouldn't be that our time to speak to you is limited to these 2-minute sort of opportunities. You should be speaking to people who've organized on the ground, who flipped 3 of the seats on the board. And so I don't actually trust that the letter of apology that you issued was sincere. I think that it's probably filled with platitudes. I don't trust that it takes genuine accountability for the harm that was done to Dr. Allison Tintiango Cubales and the community. There is repair that needs to be done. So this is an opportunity for you actually to correct course. And, you know, at the time of this discussion of your contract, actually there are people with grassroots wisdom who everyone here would do well to listen to.
Thank you.
Okay, good evening. Hi, Dr. Contreras. I think it's important for you to remember that you are here for the community and the students. You went on a Look, Listen, and Learn tour, and you talked a lot about transparency, but I and others have contacted you about the lack of policies and transparency in various areas. We need to have very clear policies and procedures regarding due process for parents and students' rights when it comes to SROs and bullying. I am hoping that because you did respond to emails and you said you would look into it, that we actually see something at the beginning of the school year. As parents and students, we need to know what the procedures are. We need to know what the policies are. Right now, the SROs on campus, they're working based out of the procedures and policies from Watsonville Police Department. That should not be happening on our campus. This is a school, it's not the public. It's not out in the streets. They should not be using the same policies. And you also told me in an email that they should not be citing students. Clearly that's happening. So what are the repercussions for that? How is that gonna get fixed? And so in your tour of transparency, I want to see that. So I'm hoping that by the beginning of the school year, when we get all those papers that gives us the policies on everything in the district, that those things are included, that we know what happens when a kid is being bullied at school and we reach out to administrators and we get no response, or we reach out to teachers and we get no response. What is the process for that? So that something happens, so that we don't have what happened to the student a few weeks ago, where the parent reached out for over a year, actually for more than that, because she reached out to a couple of principals and got nothing until her kid got into a fight with the bully who was bullying him. We should not let things get to that point. So I hope that I see something at the beginning of the school year. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other public comments? Okay, seeing none, I will now bring it back to the board for discussion. Yes, Trustee Navarro?
So first of all, I just want to thank you for, I know it's been a really tough year and you've had a lot to do. And there's a lot more work that still needs to be done. I wanted to address the speakers real quick that spoke on this agenda item. We did have a long conversation. Can I say this? Yeah. We had a conversation during closed session about this exact thing and having very clear policies on the use of SROs to both in English and Spanish so that our community knows what our policies are, that all the site administrators know what our policy are, that the SROs know what the policy is, and to make it very clear. And if Omar or Lourdes, you have data on specifics, to our knowledge, there was only one you said that you knew that was cited, correct? So if there's more that have been cited by police, please share that information with us so that we can address it, because we only have the information that we have. But
We do because that's private and confidential. I'm sorry, we can't allow
two-way conversation.
I know, but we can't allow the back and forth, but you can address.
You can always email me, just so we don't have this back and forth. But please email any information that you do know of students, and we will try to do some research on our end too, because I think we're all on the same page that clearly we don't want that happening in schools because we know it affects kids. We also are seeking some clarification about procedures about interviewing kids without parents being notified or present. So I just want to be clear that that is something that we are addressing. And then Christine, I'm sorry you don't feel that I'm open. I've responded to every email that you've sent to me.
Trustee Navarro?
Yeah.
If you could just keep the conversation.
I was told during the meeting that we can respond to the public. Remember?
Okay, you can respond. Let's keep this pertaining to this action item.
Anyway, feel free to email me. Thanks.
Okay, any other comments? Trustee Dodge?
As we all know, it's been I wouldn't say a rough first year, but that's just PVUSD. You know, that's just how it is. That's just how it is here, but we work through it. You know, we have our ups and downs, myself as well. As one of only 2 trustees left that were here to select you, the main reason why I voted for you, because Watsonville isn't a stepping stone. The Pajaro Valley Unified School District shouldn't be a stepping stone to reach something higher. If you look at the city and what they've gone through with their city managers, you know, coming and going, that's not right. That's not right for our parents, our children, you know, all of our children. We shouldn't be selecting people who want to be here for 3 to 4 years, and when they see a big contract in their hometown or in another state, then you told me that you wanted to be here. You wanted to retire here, and that's why I supported you being hired, and I support this agenda item. A majority of my constituents in Trustee Area 4, which it's a small district, but it's very diverse. There's a lot of history, a lot of different types of ethnicities and people, and you've heard me say that before. My neighbors and a lot of elected officials that live in my area support you, and they do watch you, and they hope that you continue to want to be here and not eventually, you know, go back and, you know, make more money. So please don't do that to us. Don't do that to our people or our children. And so with that, I'll support this agenda item, and, you know, hopefully, you know, there's still a lot of issues, and hopefully you continue to work and reach out to the people here. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? No. Trustee Turley? Nope. Okay. So I just want to also say thank you. I know it has been a really rough year, but we're working through it, and I thank you for your commitment to our students. I know, you know, having gone through this process, this is the first time I've had to go through the process of renewing a contract, and just seeing all the other superintendent contracts in our area in Santa Cruz County, Monterey County, and even San Bernardino County. You're at the very lower end. And I know a district our size should be a little bit higher, but you are committed to our students and you're willing to work with us with this salary. So for that, I am grateful, and I hope our community is as well. And this last year, for as difficult as it was, we did still have some huge accomplishments with our attendance campaign, which probably helped out with our bottom line as well, and with our graduation rate. I can't wait for those numbers to become official, and then we can really shout that out. So I know you've just gotten started, and so I'm excited to approve this contract. So we have a motion to approve. I believe I still need a second.
I'll second.
Okay, so we have a first and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion passes 5002. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. And now I will move us on to item 9.5, approve the contract with Bill McGuire for Measure M facility support. This report will be presented by Dr. Heather Contreras, our Superintendent of Schools.
Good evening. So we are very fortunate to have hopefully procured the services of Bill McGuire. Bill McGuire is a former CBO, very talented in both fiscal services and facility services. He is willing to come on board to help us, particularly in the absence of a CBO. We've been unable to hire a CBO. We've been advertising since February for that support. And so having a huge bond, $315 million bond to oversee and get started on, Bill will be able to help on the facility end of things. He happens to know Terry Ryland and Kate Lane, who are people we have brought in to help support in the gap that we will have in Jenny's absence, and not being able to have attracted a CBO yet. And so I'm asking to support this contract for Bill McGuire. He will be working 1 to 2 days a week, helping to support us. Part of what he offers also is to be building the bench, which is something I've talked to the board about, and is kind of a hallmark of the leadership I believe in. So he will be investing heavily in our maintenance and facilities team to help them to become highly skilled as well, so that they're learning from him and he is an expert in his field.
Thank you. Do we have any public comments to this item? Okay, see none. I will now bring it back to the board for discussion or a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to support agenda item 9.5.
Thank you.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, so I have a first and a second. Any comments from the board before I take a vote? No? Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion passes 5002. Thank you. I will now brings us to item 9.6. English Learner Instruction Board Policy, final read. This report will be presented by Chrissy McLean, our Director of Equity, State, and Federal Programs.
President Flores, Dr. Contreras, my name is Chrissy McLean, Director of Federal, State, and Equity Programs. I am here to present the second read of our Board Policy 6174, Education for English Learners. Last meeting, Mr. Berman presented the first read. There have been no updates since that last meeting. We're just moving for approval for our updated service for our English learner students.
Thank you. Do we have any public comments to this item?
We do. Mr. Bill Beecher.
Good evening. This is a tough one. We're being asked to double down on a program that has failed our Hispanic students. If this program worked, there would have been progress over the last 18 years that I've been coming to these meetings. We've seen very little progress for our Hispanic community. No other foreign language speakers get this support, and they outperform the Hispanic students. Compare them to Mixteco speaking students, or the Filipino students, or the Southern Alte student who speaks Turkic. My mother had to switch from French to English when she came to this country. Japanese American students, when they came out of the internment camps, had to switch from Japanese to English. They were some of the best students in our system. Wouldn't we be better off to transition these students to English quickly rather than let them linger in the shadows? Many of the students who drop out will fall prey to gangs. Do we want to be the feeder group to local groups or local gangs? I don't think so. Where's the data to support why you want to double down on this program? I had a boss who said, "In God we trust, everybody else bring data." Where's the data that this program works? Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have, that's it for public comment? Okay. So I will now bring it back to the board for discussion. And I'm going to say one thing really quick. When I first became a board member, one of the first things that I did was learned a little more about our dual language program that we have here. And I know it was being taught at E.J. Hyde, which is one of my schools. So I did a deep dive, and it was really exciting to learn how we've changed bilingual education from when I was a student in school. And just my grandfather fought really hard in this district to have bilingual education in our schools. And so it was really important to me to look and see how it's now being taught, and seeing our seal of biliteracy, how that has grown over the years, and just I saw test scores of, students who do carry the dual language all the way through tend to outscore students with just one language. So had I known this, 8 years, or my son just graduated high school. So had I known this 13 years ago, I might have, chosen to put him in the dual language track, because it is something that does help if you start them young. So I just wanted to say that. Trustee Navarro?
So first of all, Mr. Beecher, there's actually a lot of things I disagree with what you're saying, but there is one thing that I do agree with, and that is, where is the data on this particular program? Because I am also concerned that we are leaving a lot of our students behind. And so I don't know if you can give me some more information on how do you check the rigor of this program versus other programs, because we're failing these students.
So for quick clarification, what you all are approving is the board policy for instruction for English learners across the board, which is one strategy, are dual language programs. And so we can definitely get back with you. I was just speaking to Mr. Berman about some of that data and when and how we would be presenting that. So it's on the docket.
Thank you.
I also agree with you, Olivia. I 100% support bilingual education. And when I looked to try to find schools for my kids, I couldn't find any. So it's nice to know they're here.
Okay, so Trustee Dodge?
Well, hopefully the people watching here in this chambers and on TV see what kind of information we get from certain speakers. So hopefully everybody's watching. The seal of biliteracy, PVUSD has great dual immersion programs. I mean, so the people know. And so with that, I like to support agenda item 9.6. With a motion, yes.
Okay. I'll second.
Trustee Carrasco, did you?
Okay. I just want to comment on, I was also one of those students who was in a bilingual school. And from what I remember, it was very helpful to be able to have explanation in the language that I felt comfortable with, to be able to transfer over to English. working with a lot of students who are also bilingual, that's also helpful as a teacher. Being able to explain it to them in Spanish so that it makes sense to them in English. I also want to point out that being bilingual works different parts of your brain. When you go all over the world, people know 4 or 5 different languages. When I was in Guatemala, there was a vocational school that people went all over to learn different languages, and it was a skill that was valued very much. And I just want to echo that because I don't want to discourage any of our students to not proceed being bilingual. In the long run, now as an adult, I see how much it's helpful for me and for a lot of people around me. I'm able to access different music, different art, different history, and that makes me a well-rounded person. So that's all I want to comment.
Thank you. Would you like to second Trustee Dodge's motion?
Yes.
Okay, so Trustee Carrasco has seconded. So I will now bring it back to a vote. All those in favor? Aye. Any abstain? Any opposed? Motion carries 5002. Thank you. Okay, I will now move on to item 9.7, the second reading, updates on board policy for education for homeless children, 6174. Report will be presented by Benjamin Slider, our coordinator for student support services.
It is, okay. Good evening, Board President Flores, Board Trustee Dr. Contreras, and the PVUSD community. Thank you for your time in reviewing the updated Board Policy 6173, presented during the public hearing on June 11th. Tonight, I'm here to answer any of your questions regarding the proposed language changes. We haven't received any feedback from the public since January 11th. Additionally, I respectfully request this board approve the proposed changes tonight.
Thank you. Do we have any public speakers to this item?
We have one, Dr. Braza.
I wasn't going to speak on this one, but I was inspired to speak from listening to the last public comment. Just like everything else, it's not just one thing. It's not just instruction. And I think this is what certain people fail to see. It's beyond that. My kids went through the bilingual program, and both of my kids were valedictorians of their middle school. To this day, they've had straight A's from 6th grade to high school. You know what probably one of the big differences is they have the privilege of having resources. It's not just instruction. It is about what is going on at home. It is about, do you have resources? Are you able to have food, clothes, shelter? It goes beyond instruction. So for someone to think that the school is failing because of test scores, they need to do a little bit more research to find out what it is. Because when you look at people who go through bilingual programs, as some of you stated, they score higher on almost everything else. So it's not just about instruction, it's about a lot of social things. So I hope this person broadens their view of things and does a little bit more research about all the things that go into a child. It's not just solely instruction. So I thank the board for having a bilingual program. I would love to have more. I would love to have Trustee Medina's idea of having instruction in other languages like Mixteco, Quiche, anything else that we can have would be fabulous, because it's stuff that we need here. I would like to have that broadened. But thank you for not listening to those comments, because they come from a place of ignorance that has not been researched, because we know that a lot of things affect a kid's learning. Trauma affects kids' learning. It doesn't have to do just with instruction. So thank you for having that policy.
Thank you. And I will now bring it back to the board for any discussion or motion. Oh, Trustee Turley.
The solution to hunger is food. The solution to housing or to homelessness is housing. And until we as a society focus on meeting the needs of our people, our children are going to continue to struggle.
Thank you, Trustee Turley. Trustee Dodge?
Yeah, I would like to make a motion to support this agenda item, but the PVUSD is doing a lot of great things to do what we can to help combat homelessness. The Resource Center, E Hall, which has been there for a couple of years, they allow students to get food for free, resources through other organizations in the city of Watson. So I just wanted to mention that. But yes, I'd like to make a motion to support this agenda item.
Thank you. Trustee Navarro?
I second the motion.
Okay, do we have any more discussion from the board? Okay, seeing none, I will now take a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries 5002. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I will now move us on to item 9.8, our family engagement policy and plan. Report will be presented by Chrissy McLean, our Director of Equity, State and Federal Programs.
Good evening, trustees, board president, Dr. Contreras. I am happy to be up here again. I'm feeling a little bit like a board meeting movie star tonight. I got half of these action items. For this one, we have already approved our family engagement policy, but as we've been going this year through a federal program monitoring, some of the feedback that they gave us was that we needed to have more examples in the policy, which is called the plan. So we co-developed some of these ideas with our families, and then in the policy to have specific examples of what we're actually doing. And then to be compliant with our policy, again, next year, we would bring forth, after getting feedback from families, and report about what our family engagement plan will be aligned with the policy. So that is what you are reading if you open up that document. And it has details specifically about what we're doing. And I request that you approve our family engagement policy and plan.
Thank you. Do we have any public speakers to this item? Okay, seeing none, I will bring it back to the board for discussion. Do we have any discussion from the board? Okay, seeing none, I will look for a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Okay, I have a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries 5002. Thank you. Okay, and now we're going to change things up a little bit. I need to recess this regular board meeting at 7:38, and I am going to open a special board meeting. So I'm calling the special board meeting to order at 7:38. Okay, so this is so that we can, before I do that, I'm going to ask for approval of the agenda. So can I have, this is our special board meeting. So Trustee Navarro makes a motion to approve this agenda.
I'll second.
Okay, Trustee Carrasco seconds. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries 5002. Okay, so that brings us to the one action item on this special board meeting. This is Resolution 24-25-54, the Kaya Services LLC agreement. This will be presented by our Assistant Director, Assistant Director of Maintenance and Operations, Sergio. Okay, so then Dr. Contreras will present.
I think Sergio ended up being ill today. So we are asking approval from the board for us to work with Kaya, who will be doing the very first, actually, of some of our Measure M projects. Woo, very exciting. One will be the long-awaited Rio Del Mar Park, also known as the Blue Park. This was one of the first things that I worked on even before I stepped foot in this district as a superintendent, and a couple of quick projects at Aptos High School. So we're asking for approval to begin working on these projects to get going on Measure M over the summer.
Okay,
I'll move approval.
I second.
Okay, do we have any public speakers to this item? None? Okay, so trustee Turley made a motion to approve and trustee Navarro made a seconded. Do we have any comments?
I just have a
Trustee
question.
Dodge.
So we talked about the district office. What is this proposal?
Sorry, district office is actually not Measure M. That's under deferred maintenance, and that is attached in there.
Okay.
It's just some modernization, paint and carpet.
Well, as long as I've been here, I've always objected to the towers because I believe, it's in my area, in my trustee area, it is a symbol of, they're at the towers. They don't relate to us. They don't understand. And so I've always had my issues with the towers, but yes.
Agree.
And so, but,
I will say there is a greater scheme there, and that is actually we're trying to create a space within the towers for our HR, payroll, and business services to come together to be more efficient and more effective, which was one of the findings in our FCMAT report. So it's more about the space and functionality, and I hear you. I understand.
So, but other than that, this is an agenda item, correct? Yes. So I'd like to make a motion to support this agenda item.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Okay, so we have a first and a second. Any more discussion from the board before I take a vote? Seeing none, I will now call for vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries 5-0-0-2. Okay. Now I will adjourn this special board meeting at 7:42 and reconvene our regular board meeting. Thank you. Okay, so I now bring our regular board meeting back at 7:42. And we are on item 10.1, our Youth Truth Survey data. This report will be presented by Dr. Heather Contreras, the Superintendent of Schools.
Okay, so our Youth Truth Survey data is Youth Truth Survey that we give to our staff, our families, and our students. This is the 8th year that we have used Youth Truth for the survey results, and I will be presenting them to you for the second time. This aligns with our vision and mission in that every student will graduate ready to share their unique skills and abilities and create a positive and be a positive contributing member to our community. And we are committed to cultivating a nurturing environment. And just like Dr. Barraza shared earlier this evening, it does take an entire environment to help students to learn. And this survey information does help us to understand where we can do better and be better to help our students have that environment so that they can access their education. This aligns with our district strategic goals, particularly Goal 1, allowing students to access their academic excellence, and it helps us to understand Goal 3 and where we may fall short in climate and culture for our students. We've had quite a bit of questions around why we engage in Youth Truth and this survey. And according to California Ed Code 52060D7 and under our requirements for the LCAP, we are required to survey our students. This helps us to guide our LCAP plan and to develop what that plan is and align the supports and resources for our students. It helps us to gain and gather the important themes such as college and career readiness, how we can communicate and improve feedback loops, what we would need to do to improve school safety, our resources, as well as what types of professional development might we need to engage in to provide a better learning environment for our students. The Youth Truth is valuable to us because we do have longitudinal data by using this particular company. So it's comparing apples to apples over 8 years. And 8 years of study is considered longitudinal at this point. So before implementing Youth Truth, we were using California Healthy Kids Survey. That is a very common survey instrument that's used up and down California. Most districts do use that tool. There's also another tool called the WE survey that is used in other districts as well. Most districts will administer at grades 5, 7, 9, and 11, which is what is legally required in the state of California. We go a little bit beyond that. And we also are required to use this as part of like TUPE and Tier 2 grants. California Healthy Kids is a useful tool. It's not, I wouldn't negate it, but the Youth Truth does give much more in-depth survey information. And they also break that information down to the much more granular level that can be more actionable than what you would see with the California Healthy Kids Survey. So we have been using the Youth Truth to guide us in the actions that we take, not just with the LCAP, but also at the school level as principals develop their SPSA. Last year, over 10,000 students took the survey, 4,000 families participated, and 1,000 staff. So we have quantitative data as well. And then most all of the survey data that we send out is anonymous. So we feel that because of that, we get pretty honest responses. So we hear from 9,496 students, which is approximately 76% of our student body. For those of you familiar with administering surveys of an entire group, that is a really strong percentage of our families, and that's probably because we have a good captive audience for these surveys. For our families, we get 25% of our families responding. It's a little bit less. And of our staff, 64% of our staff respond. So we feel that our surveys are pretty reflective of our population. Some of the themes that Youth Truth pulls out in the questions that they ask and that we look particularly for are engagement, meaning how engaged are our students in our programming, relationships, how would students, teachers, and families describe their relationships with each other, with staff, with the community. Culture, questions around culture. How would you describe your culture? Is it positive? Is it negative? Academic challenge. We ask students, do they feel challenged in school? What is the sense of belonging, both for staff, for community, and for students? How do students feel around instructional methods? So questions that would represent that is, how do I learn best? What does learning look like for me in the classroom? Some of the themes include college and career readiness. So asking about how prepared do you feel for life outside of school when you graduate? Questions also are around communication and feedback. So a lot of this is even related to families. How much communication do you get from your school and from your teacher and from other school levels? And then school safety, there's questions around school safety. How safe do you feel at school? Parents are asked, how safe do you feel when you send your student to school? We ask questions about how many resources are available to you, and then teachers are asked, do you feel you have the professional development you need to be effective in the classroom? Here's some of our highest rated themes, and this is broken out into elementary school, middle school, and high school. Our elementary students report that the instructional methods teachers use are working for them. Families in the elementary schools report feeling very engaged with their teachers, the principals, and overall at the school. And staff report a high level of engagement and empowerment at the elementary schools. At the middle school, some of the highest rated themes were culture. So students feel that there's a good sense of belonging. That was one of the highest themes.
They also are reporting that there's a high sense of engagement for parents at the middle school, and that is actually a really good data point there. 78% for middle school, that's pretty huge for parents to feel that connected. And staff feel that they are very engaged and empowered at the middle school. At high school, students feel a high sense of engagement. Parents feel a pretty good sense of engagement. That's an anomaly there, 66% at the high school level. And staff, one of their highs is engagement, although that does fall short of what California staff would feel. And our student survey results. Did you go back one, Silvestre? Yeah, thank you. Our lowest, he was going to skip over our lowest rated, and I know I've been called out for maybe not being transparent, so that would not be very good. So these are some of our lowest rated themes, both again in elementary, middle, and high school. So our elementary school students do not feel that the relationships are one of their highest things that they report. Our families also state that relationships, levels of respect at the elementary level are one of the lower areas that we need to work on. And our staff would like to see more professional development and support. When we break these down, we get to actually see more of a granular level, like where, like is it in reading or language arts, and around relationships we can see, is it with teachers, or is it with principals or admin? So we get a little more information that we don't go deeply into here. Middle school relationships is another theme across students and families. And then school safety is something that staff is concerned about. And in high school, again, relationships emerge for students, school safety emerges for families, and school safety also emerges for staff. And now our student survey results. So we get to have some student responses, and these are some of the highest and lowest rated questions that we had. So our highest overall rated questions for students, and this is compared to participating schools at each level. One of the highest was, does what you learn in class help you in your life? That's an example of an academic challenging question. Students from my school treat adults with respect. That was a culture question that was highly rated. And what I learn in class helps me outside of school. So engagement, students are, and that's kind of the college and career connection as well. Some of the lowest rated questions for students was, do you think your teacher cares about you? That was a relationship question. And you could see that ES is elementary school, MS is middle school, and HS is high school. Do you think your teacher cares about you was one that was low, and that's at elementary school. How many of your teachers believe that you can get a good grade if you try? That was lowly rated in middle school. And how many of your teachers believe that you can get a good grade if you try in high school was also one of the lowest ranked questions. And then some of the student responses that are areas for improvement continues to be relationships, and that's the lowest rated theme that we see, and that emerges from elementary to middle to high school. And you could see the trend data from October 21st to October 22nd, and then February 24th to February 25th. So we do see a little bit of an increase slightly in middle and high school, but this is an area that persistently challenges us. And here's some of the strengths that we see. All themes at middle school and high school did trend upwards from last year, so that's good. Our elementary school data improved or stayed the same in all themes except relationships. And then the percentage of high school students reporting college and career support is well above and continues to increase year over year. So an area that we do seem to persistently do well in and outperform other schools in California is that students still do feel supported in college and career readiness. And here's some of our family survey results.
So the highest rated question that our families responded to was what % of family members agree or strongly agree to this question was our family members included in planning school activities. So elementary school said 82%, middle school 71% said yes, and high school 64% said yes. That's pretty good. And here's some staff survey results. This was the highest rated question. I feel that my work contributes to the goals of my school. Elementary school teachers said 92% of them felt that yes. And middle school, 88% said yes. And high school, 88% said yes. So that's some of the data. Some of the things that we do that relate to this data is taking a look at what, how is our LCAP adding into this? And that's how we're supposed to design our LCAP. And so some of what Chrissy presented was designed because of these results. We use the Youth Truth data to guide a lot of the work and to continue to persist on how we design our professional development, our learning strategies for our students, and how we continue to make a learning environment that matters for our students to be successful.
Thank you. And do we have any public comments to this item?
We have 4. Jessica Clements, Dr. Braza, Omar Diegues, and Christine Hong.
Hi again. Do I go? Okay. I'm Jess Clements. I'm the parent of students in PVUSD. Again, I'd like to ask you to add an action item to the July 16th board meeting agenda to vote to cancel PVUSD's contract with Youth Truth and find a less costly option. PVUSD has paid Youth Truth more than $500,000 since contracting with them in 2018. And I know that some of you think that that's not a lot of money, but in the financial crisis that we're in as a district, it feels like too much to spend when there are less costly alternatives. For example, Google Forms, SurveyMonkey, Canva, and Jot Forms. You have to cancel the contract before November 3rd to avoid incurring any additional fees. And again, I'd like to request that the next board meeting, there's an agenda item to vote to cancel Youth Truth in exchange for something less costly. To your point about anonymity, I had many conversations with teachers who, especially at the smaller school sites, don't feel comfortable being honest because even though it's anonymous, it'll be very obvious who they are if they answer the questions honestly, and they don't feel comfortable doing that. I've also heard from administration that they ignore some of the results of the survey because it's not germane to the goals of the school. So then why are we asking the kids the question if the information isn't being used? Students have shared with me, especially the teenagers and some of the younger kids too, that it was a forced assignment, which is why you probably have such a high rating. They were forced they would lose credit if they didn't complete this assignment. Also, in Youth Truth, you don't actually have to answer the questions to be considered completed. You can just click through, which a lot of the teenagers at my son's school did. So you're not actually getting accurate information. A lot of them said it was a waste of time and they didn't feel like what they said was going to matter. And then you already showed the results. 25% of family, sorry. Anyway, please put it on the agenda to use something less costly. Thank you.
Hello, it's me again. To be honest with you, I'm not surprised that the survey showed a lack of relationship. This is actually the first year where I don't feel welcomed at my school. I've normally been very welcome because I'm a pretty active parent, as you can probably imagine. So I can only imagine with the parents who aren't really active, don't have the time to do that, how they're feeling. At PV High, there's been several teachers who don't respond to emails. When I brought this up to the principal, he told me, well, they don't have to respond. And I'm just thinking, how does that improve communication between the parents and the school if the teachers could just ignore your emails? Some of us don't have time to be at the school all the time, so email is a quick, easy way to respond. But the lack of communication is not going to improve relationships. In terms of safety that some of the teachers feel, this is why it's important to have community groups on campus, because they build those connections with kids and they keep working with them through the summer. It's not just through the school year. When you have those connections, you see them around town, community groups are super important. So I'm super disappointed that the PV High principal decided not to renew the Barrios contract. Instead of fixing whatever problems he had, he should have fixed those and brought on other programs like Milpa, like, you know, whatever other programs there are, because those are the groups that make long-lasting relationships. And that's what creates a safer environment, when kids feel they belong, when kids feel they matter, when kids feel somebody's listening to them. My concern is what are these kids gonna do that lost Barrios? Who do they feel they can go to? They're obviously weren't using the resources that were there. This was a new resource that they found useful and it was taken away from them. So parents not being listened to is one of the reasons why we don't have that good communication. So I'm hoping that he's watching and listening and understanding why this is important and how he can improve communication and for kids to feel like they matter at that school.
Relationships, relationships, relationships. That's what I kept on hearing, were the lowest scores. And I could say from being at PV Highs, Barrios Unidos built some of the most beautiful relationships with these students. We got to know these students. We got to earn their trust. We got to learn a lot of new things about them that they weren't sharing with anybody else. I don't know if you guys know, but I have a radio show on KSQD, and I was able to take some of those students to be on the radio show. That radio show was one of our most popular shows. To hear these girls, it was a group of girls that came to talk about the benefits of having mentors on campus and how it helped them to talk about things that they don't usually talk about with parents. They don't usually feel comfortable talking about with administrators or teachers, but they felt compelled to share good things about themselves, bad things about themselves, and things that concern them in the community. And what we provide as, and not only Barrios Unidos, there's, like Lourdes said, there's Milpa, there's a lot of other groups. I'm not advocating just for Barrios, I'm advocating for mentorship in the schools. It's very important, it's needed. And for the principal at PV High to not bring us back is mind-boggling, because like they said, where are these students gonna go? We worked hard to build these relationships. We work hard to get on campus, and now what? You know, so, you know, I kept on hearing the lowest thing was the relationships. That's what we built. And we built bridges between administration, students, between parents, students, between school board and students. So please bring back the mentors, because they're needed to build those relationships.
You know, the survey is an imperfect diagnostic tool. And, you know, both Lourdes and Omar have pointed out the connection between relationships and a sense of safety. And what do the relationships do? They create a sense of responsibility and accountability to each other. There's something so profound about that. And with regard to students being seen, feeling heard, that is absolutely essential. And you notice too that something that dropped out from middle school to the high school on the level of the survey was a sense of belonging. And so the question of climate, culture, and community, that is something like, even if you continue with this company and outsource the survey, you can't outsource a sense of community. And so how do we create a sense of community accountability in institutional educational settings? We have to have people from Barrios, from Milpa, from these kinds of organizations serving as mentors. Why? Because they understand the underside of the rock. They're not speaking from up here, from alienated sort of, abstraction. They actually are, to use the expression of someone from PVESJ last week, they're homegrown. Omar Dieguez is homegrown. And he comes from the experience. As I said, he actually was the first Chicano president of Aptos High School, and he was fighting for Chicano studies. There's something so profound and integrated about that. And it was an uphill battle. At that time, Doug Kaplan was a trustee. He was arguing for the segregation of Watsonville from Aptos during that time. And so you need to have people like Omar, who was accused of by his teacher of something insane, but coming from the underside of the rock.
Thank you.
I'll just finish with this by saying that experience, when students see that, it gives them a sense of life possibility, of survivability.
Thank you. Okay, seeing no other comments, I will now bring this back for board discussion. This is not an action item, just any discussion from the board. Trustee Navarro?
I had a couple questions. Is this an annual contract?
I believe Annalicia might be able to answer. I think it's a 3-year.
Okay. So when do we know when the contract is up?
In November.
Okay. So
and we did, when I came on board, I did ask about the cost of that, and we negotiated that cost down substantially.
If we went with one of these low-cost options, we would still need to pay people to collect all and analyze all the data too. So that's not without cost.
Yeah, it's just that the other options are limited. They usually just limit by grade level, like the ones that were noted in the presentation, and they are not as in-depth.
Okay. Thank you.
Is Google Forms or any of these other SurveyMonkey, are those even an option?
So we could not take the same questions that Youth Truth asks because they're copyrighted questions. So we couldn't just say, oh, well, we'll just use their things. SurveyMonkey and Google don't have the ability to do the analysis in the same way that Youth Truth does, which that's part of what we're paying for, is the type of analysis that Youth Truth can do. Youth Truth also, they do meet with us, and they also provide presentations to our administrators to do a deeper dive into that and provide recommendations within those presentations on what next steps could look like and could be. So that's also part of what we pay for.
Do we choose the questions, or is it just a standard group of questions? Okay.
Thank you. Trustee Carrasco?
My question is this survey available in Spanish? Yeah.
Any other questions?
Yes.
Okay, I see you, Trustee Turley. Okay, Trustee Turley?
I'd like to see us work on greater participation, particularly from parents, family members, with only 25% of our families responding when we're looking at a response of 78% in favor or supporting something or agreeing to something. If we're only talking about 25% of that population that participated, that's really only 20%, less than 20%, who have said that they agree with that question. And the other thing, I know that last year you were able to negotiate the fees, and I hope that you're able to have a conversation and reduce that. Additionally, just given the long-term relationship, and it just seems once all the questions are chosen and part of the survey, their out-of-pocket expenses, what they're having to pay each year, is reduced. And I hope they recognize that and will consider reducing our fees. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, other? I had one last.
Trustee Navarro?
Are you doing something with the teachers to have them express the importance of this? Please don't just click through it. I mean, because from a survey response result, 60, 70%, it's phenomenal. 25, not so great. But what's your instruction to the teachers?
So when the Youth Truth survey data comes out, the principals have a presentation done by the Youth Truth Company, and they go over the data with them and look at their overall information. Principals then receive their own site data so that they can see their families, their teachers, and their students. And then our principals go over that data back at their site. And then we provide different professional development and options of what might the data be telling them, and then what things might they design going forward to support changes in the data.
No, I meant more like, how are we getting it across to students that this is actually important information that we are making decisions on?
It's probably different from site to site, I would imagine. But I think each, if it's high school, they probably identify a homeroom period, like tutorial, yeah, exactly, that they take it in, and it probably varies from site to site how they might be rolling that out.
Trustee Carrasco?
It really breaks my heart to hear that elementary, middle school, and high school all score low on the same exact thing, which is relationships. So now that we have that information, what are we planning to do to fix that?
I think that is a lot of variety of strategies for sure. We do our PBIS and restorative practices training for all of our staff. And then last year, we did do a huge campaign and focus just internally with our teachers on relationships and relationship building. And so we'll continue to do that and monitor that. We have several different professional development focuses that'll be happening throughout this next year that will help to strengthen the relationships between teacher and student.
Could I make a suggestion? One of the things that I've noticed, and keeping in mind that I used to teach as well on this district, is that a lot of the times the teachers right after school have to leave because they don't live here. They're trying to beat traffic. They're trying to pick up their kids, So the ones that do live here, I would notice would spend a little more time because they don't have to beat traffic, It was like a logistics thing. What I think would be amazing, and obviously every school is different, but what I think would be beautiful is to have some kind of festival, a family festival, where students, family, and teachers could bring their own families and them enjoy it. It doesn't have to be like we need curriculum to build relationships, but maybe providing spaces and time and resources for people to spend time so that they don't feel like, okay, my shift's over, I gotta go, It could be, I'm planning to bring my family to this, and my students can meet my family and I can meet their parents. And I'm not worried about curriculum because I'm there to either participate in little games, eat, and just talk to people. Just something very simple goes a long way.
Thank you. And also, I just want to make it clear, so the survey results that you get is a humongous Excel spreadsheet. I've looked at it a few times. Is that available to the public if they want to see that? Yes, like pretty much every single response, those 9,000, yeah. So it's data though that we get, and I mean, I didn't look through the entire thing. I'm happy with this presentation that you give us the highs and the lows. Thank you for that. But I'm glad to hear that, each individual site is then given their direct information and they're able to work with that. And thank you, Trustee Carrasco, for your suggestion. I think that is a beautiful thing when a teacher can introduce their children to their students, because it does help to create that, oh, you're a person outside of this classroom? Okay, so I think that could be really great. It did break my heart to see that was across all three schools, that all three grade levels, that was their struggle, was their relationships with their teachers. And so I'm glad that we are taking steps to improve that. Okay, so seeing no other discussion from the board, I will move on to our next item. Thank you. Okay, oh, Trustee Turley?
We'd like to pull 11.3 and 11.24.
I'm sorry, we still have item 10.2. I'll come back to you for that one. Okay, so this one will be quick. This is just was recommended to us by the Effective School Solutions training team to have this item where we can share with you, our community, what we learned during our workshop. So I'm pleased to share that our 2-day board workshop was both productive and enlightening. At this time, I'd like to invite each board member who attended to give a brief 2-minute recap of what the experience meant to them. And but before we do that, do we have any public comments on this item? Okay, so Trustee Navarro, we can start with you.
So first of all, I want to really thank Dr. Contreras for bringing in effective school boards to do this work with us, because many of us are new and haven't been in their positions very long, and we're still kind of figuring it out. It was a very intensive 2-day workshop. There was we covered a lot of information. There was some bonding and getting to know each other. It would have been nice if all 7 of us could have been there, but life happens, and we got 5 out of 7, so it's better, pretty good. But hopefully the other 2 people can get the training when it's next available, because I think it was really enlightening for the 5 of us that were there. A couple of the main themes that I just wanted to recap is we had an exercise where we had to go through one of our agendas and count the number of minutes that we were spending on student-related outcomes. Spoiler alert, we didn't do very good. So one of the things in the training was that 50% or more of our meetings should be focused on student-related outcomes, i.e. like what students can do and what they know. And we spend a lot of time doing a lot of other things that are not that. So one of the things that I think we all agreed to is going forward, we were going to start holding ourselves accountable and actually counting those minutes and trying to be better. The resolutions, while I think it's really important, those are some of the things that are probably not beneficial on the agenda, and a statement from the district office on those policies. That was one of the things that came up, is that all the heritage months and everything that takes up time, that takes away from other time that we could be focusing on students. It was a really great opportunity for us to get to know each other better and to focus on our shared goals. During one exercise, we were all supposed to come up with a student outcome, and we all chose the same one without looking. So that was pretty great. So we do really have a lot of goals in common, and I think that all of us really care about students and making our district better. And so that was nice. That's okay. Anyway, it was great. I look forward to more training.
Thank you. Dr. Contreras?
I want to thank board members, one, for giving up a full Friday and Saturday, and boy, it was full, like Trustee Navarro said. We were there from 9 to 6 both days, and we were timed for our breaks, like 2 minutes, and you're back. And they held us accountable. One big takeaway for me was how to build a better agenda. So really keeping that, I've never heard a formula before in all the training I've received, and that formula was looking at 50% of your agenda should be focused on student achievement and student outcomes, meaning exactly what Trustee Navarro said, what students know and can do. And that the other 50% would be on legal matters of the board. And I thought that was a very good guideline. So I love that. The other thing is Effective School Boards is committed to training and providing these workshops for everyone in the community. And so we have already set about working towards identifying 2 days in July for the cabinet, teaching and learning, and our labor partners if they'd like to join us. So I'm really excited about that, as well as board members who couldn't make it the first time are invited. And we'll be working to set up trainings throughout this whole next year for anyone in the community who would like to join us. So we'll be looking at those opportunities for like some of our community partners like our DLAC and our DAC and our COC, and hopefully over the next 2 years, even bringing the training to our schools as we work to really focus on our students.
Thank you. Trustee Carrasco?
Just to add to what you were all saying, one of the biggest takeaways for me was, and I was already kind of thinking this, but as I saw it in like percentage form of our agenda, is a lot of the stuff that in the past that we have been focusing on has not been in students. So that was the ongoing thing for me, and how me, myself, and my own actions can put the focus back on students when we tend to go off on our own ideas. The other part that I thought was really interesting was when we were asked to focus on one thing, we all came up with the same thing. We came up with different ways on how to approach it, which was really cool. But I know that being in this board, and we're all new and it's been bumpy, but the fact that we were all focusing on literacy, for example, was something that definitely showed us how, yes, we are all different. We all have different experiences and we have different ideas of how to approach it, but yet we are still focusing on literacy and our students. That was a big takeaway. It really humbled a lot of us. It made us, instead of pointing fingers at each other, I feel like it really made us reflect on our own actions and how we acted, and not so much in pointing fingers. I thought that was really helpful. It was all I. It wasn't this person or this was said. And I think that it's a good way to restart, I guess you could say, and trying again. But thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Trustee Turley, I know you touched on this a little bit in the beginning, but you could share again. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you. I won't take up the 2 minutes. I did make my comments under 3.4, and I agree with what my fellows have said. It was an excellent training, and I think it's really going to help us all move forward. Oops, it's going to help me move forward. I forgot. We want to make I statements.
Thank you. Okay, and during our 2-day board workshop, our focus centered on a very powerful guiding principle. Student outcomes don't change until adult behaviors change. And the only adult behavior that I can change is my own. So again, like was mentioned the whole time, it's anytime we would say the word we, they would point back to themselves, change that to I, and it really does, change your whole mindset. And so that was really powerful. As far as like being timed with our breaks, they were like to the second, and they let us in on that. That was really just to practice our integrity. If we say we're going to be back in our seats, ready to go at 9:10, and then we're there at 9:10 and 30 seconds, then how that just that little bit of letting someone down, like it takes a toll on our integrity. So it was just little things like that for the whole 2 weeks, 2 days was really powerful. The message of adult student outcomes don't change until adult behavior change, deeply resonated with me and renewed my commitment to being a more productive and focused board member. One of the most impactful insights that I took away is that our board meetings should ideally dedicate 50% of our time to monitoring student outcomes, and the remaining 50% devoted to other matters. Currently, our focus is not aligned with that goal. We also explored the important distinction between inputs, outputs, and outcomes, specifically the difference between adult and student inputs. Sorry. That was a little bit of Trustee Turley's time, so I'm gonna take a little bit longer. Student outcome, the difference between adult and student inputs and outcomes. The key takeaway is that our work must prioritize student outcomes, measurable indicators of what students know and or are able to do. And to help us move forward, we need to start with establishing some SMART goals. Now, SMART stands for specific, measurable, attainable, results-focused, and time-bound. Creating these goals will require meaningful engagement with our community and our stakeholders, and the Effective School Solutions is going to come in and help us to get that, organize those community outreaches. And so I'm looking really forward to that. So now as next steps, I'd like to take a little bit of time to discuss some future next steps that we'd like to see. I would like to propose that we begin releasing our agendas earlier to allow more time for thoughtful conversation and preparation. For example, our next board meeting is in July. Now, we went like a week or two out from there. It happens to fall during a time when we shut down kind of as a district for a week. So I propose that starting in August, our first board meeting in August, that we commit to having the agenda released no fewer than 7 days in advance. I'm willing to go 14 if everybody else is willing to make that commitment, because what we could do with those 2 weeks is really use that time to engage with the community and hear more from them so that when we do get to our board meetings, it is able to run a lot quicker and a lot more streamlined. And so with that in mind, yes, I recommend in August, let's go for 14. Are you guys good with 14? I know that, I mean, I think they could do it.
I've looked you guys.
It's gonna take a change of mindset, but I think we can do it. Now I want to invite each of you to share something that you would like to see as a next step for our board.
I'm good.
Okay,
I will share. So Eva and I today worked on calendar and finding a date at the end of July so that cabinet and teaching and learning and extending the invitation to our labor partners, and then for our trustees who couldn't attend the first time, would be able to do the two full day training so that we begin including our community in the training that we received so that we start doing that same outreach.
Sounds good. I know we have, there was a graph that they showed us where a school board, if you're doing all this, you're in the red. And then once you get to, where you're doing all this, you're in the orange and then green and then blue. And we're in the red. So there's a lot of next steps for us, mostly reaching out to our community and getting us all on the same page as far as what these SMART goals are going to be, what the guardrails are going to be, and how to run an effective school board. And once we are able as adults to change these behaviors, we are going to start seeing some amazing changes in our student outcomes as well. So that's the most exciting part. So if we don't have any, okay, Dr. Navarro.
Can I take one more minute? I know I had mine too. And I was just going to say that the big third takeaway for me was the defining of what is board work versus what is superintendent work, because I think that's been a little confused. We spent a lot of time talking about goals And, we hadn't really had the opportunity, since the only time we really get to meet with all of us together is in these board meetings. We didn't really have an opportunity to kind of sit down and figure out what goals that we wanted to do as a board. So the first thing that we need to do is establish no more than 5, ideally 3, somewhere between 1 and 5, like measurable specific goals that are time bound. So that is our next work with AJ and Greg. And then the other aspect that is board work is figuring out the guardrails. So, not micromanaging the superintendent in every aspect of her job, but rather like, this is what we want to see, this is the goal, and then these are the parameters that you get to work in. And the example that he gave is, when you get into an Uber, you tell the person where you're going to go, and you could tell them, hey, I don't want you to go that way because there's an accident. But after that, like, you're not going to tell him every turn, you're going to let him do his job. So that is one of the things that we're working on as a board, is setting those goals and those guardrails. And we're going to do it with the help of the community. And so, we're going to have more listening sessions, more opportunities for two-way dialogue, because really at these meetings, that's not really the opportunity for us to communicate with the public. So by releasing the agenda a little bit earlier, hopefully we'll have more time to, have a town hall, whether virtually or in person, to interact with the community and get feedback.
Thank you. Okay, so that was a good discussion. We're going to have several more of these while we roll out what we've been learning. But I will now move us on to our consent agenda. And I did hear that, wait, do we have any board comments to this item? Public comments. Okay, no public comments on this. So Trustee Turley, I heard you say you had a couple you wanted to pull.
Yes, I'd like to pull 11.3 and 11.24 and move approval of the remaining items.
Okay, Trustee Carrasco has a couple too. So you said 11.3 and 11.24.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, same. Trustee Dodge?
I would also like to add 11.14.
11.14. Okay, are there any other items? Okay, with that, I would let's see, I would love to have a motion to approve consent agenda with the removal of 11.3, 11.14, and 11.24. Do I have a motion?
I move approval of the consent agenda with those 3 items removed.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, any abstaining? That motion passes 5002. And so now we will go to our deferred consent items. So we will start with 11.3, approval of the 2025-2026 school plan for student achievement.
May I start?
Sure, you can ask. Yes, Christy McLean is ready to answer your questions.
Okay, thank you. So I noticed that at least I couldn't find any of the reports for our charter schools, and I think it's vitally important that we're also focusing on their achievement. 2 of those charter schools are within my trustee area, Alianza and Watsonville Charter School for the Arts, and I just want to make sure that we're tracking them. And I believe last year when we looked at these same numbers, Alianza, our dual immersion English-Spanish school, did pretty well on their testing, and I think it's important to continue tracking that.
Good evening, Trustee Curley. I did not include the charter schools because my understanding, and please bear with me because this is my first year doing this, but I did not include them because they actually do their own LCAP. They don't do a SIPSA. And so they would be presenting on their own, their LCAP to their community.
Yes, that is true. Charter schools do have their own board, and that would be presented to them, and their own site council, their own board, their own homeschool club as well.
I think it's vitally important that we also know that. So if we could get access to those reports, that would be great. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions or a motion?
I'll move approval.
Second.
Okay, so I have a first and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion passes 5002. Okay, so now we will bring back item 11.14, joint use agreement between City of Watsonville and Pajaro Valley Unified School District. And so who would like to ask a question on this item?
So, is it Jenny? I'm asking the question. Thank you, Jenny, I know this has been an issue for at least a year or two. I just had a couple quick questions. Everybody loves the E Hall field. You know, I know you know that. I know everybody here knows that. You know, I know there's some soccer clubs that are doing well being there. I know the community likes to use the fields. And something I've come across, people have been asking me, because I live right behind E Hall, why does the city of Watsonville have control of, you know, the fees? For example, they collect the fees. They control the calendar. How did all that happen? Because it kind of seems like the city of Watsonville has control of the school more than we do. And I know many of my constituents and many clubs that are friends of mine that use the fields, they were just kind of wondering because they feel the city has too much control.
So the arrangement with the city goes back many, many years. And one of the things about the city programs is actually does benefit many of our students and families. So they run many student youth teams that many of our students and families participate in. So we do give them certain dates within the week, but it is district events and school events, especially our expanded learning program, that does get preferential time on the field. And then the final schedule is built collaboratively. So the city has a certain date that they have to submit their scheduled events to the district. And then that is then reviewed and then finalized and approved. So it is, in the end, built collaboratively because we do give preferential scheduling to district and site programming.
Another question I have is, again, that turf field has gone through a lot of wear and tear because people love using that field. How could the city of Watsonville help us upkeep that field? Has that been any type of discussion? Like, could you help us with the nets? Could you help us with you know, going half and redoing the field? Because I'm pretty sure, you know, before you were here, Dr. Contreras, the city of Watsonville told us with Measure R that, you know, I know the city council members and the city manager are watching this, but you know, I feel, you know, some of city staff told us that they would help. They would be able to help with infrastructure, you know, possibly helping, you know, fields. So what is it possible to reach out with the city to, you know, say, hey, you know, we have Measure R? Because I was kind of hesitant on supporting it myself, because you're asking city council members to go out and telling the people of Watsonville to support a tax. And, you know, me being a school board member, what was I supposed to tell my neighbors? Hey, support this tax. Why are we going to support this tax for? Oh, because the city, you know. But you know, it passed, and hopefully it's something the city and us could work on. Measure R to, you know, I know you know, and everyone here has heard me say the schools in my area are at least 100 years old. You know, please help us with the field, please, you know, just something. So hopefully going forward, maybe the city can help with Measure R funds.
Yes, and I do want to really commend the collaborative relationship that the district and the city has been able to build over the many years. There are regular ongoing intergovernmental meetings where we are able to discuss upcoming projects and initiatives such as flashing safety lights. I know that was a recent project that we did together, and the city has gone out for grants on behalf of the school district, and we've been able to get some projects going in collaboration where we use both city funds and district funds, and I imagine that would continue, especially with Measure R. There have been discussions over the last year, especially around updated maintenance of the field at EA Hall. So the city has been very receptive to hearing some of our concerns. So in the contract before you, there are some small revisions to look at some of the challenges we've been experiencing. The city does revisit their fee schedule every other year. So that is something they're continuing to do, and we do revenue sharing with them. We also, this year, requested an additional porta potty, which has helped significantly. We're also requesting some additional maintenance, logging of the servicing that they're doing on the field and the monitoring that we're going to start implementing this year as well. And we have some additional safeguards in our contract, such as clearly stating out things like no vehicles to be driven on the field and such. So it's been an ongoing, really great collaborative relationship, and we are able to serve great many members of our community through this partnership.
I agree. I'm working with the council member to traffic is a big issue at Mini White. There's another council member who worked with us to get the flashing lights at Radcliffe, and I like to commend the city council members and the city council and the city manager. I just wanted to bring it up in public because it's something that I hear, and I know once again everybody's battling for turf field, and so I just wanted to be able to report back to the clubs and people that I went to high school with who are now coaches and doing a lot of great things. A classmate of mine that I graduated, he's coming back, and he's teaching the free soccer program at EA Hall, and so I just want to be able to tell everybody, like, hey, we're doing our best, the city, the district, to make sure we could continue to use these fields, and let's, hopefully we can do more. So thank you. And I'd like to make a motion to support this agenda item as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you very much, Jane. We'll miss you.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Okay.
Trustee Turley, did you have questions?
No, second.
Oh, a second. Okay, perfect. Okay, so I have a first and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion passes 5002. Okay, and for this next item, Jessica, this is involving you, so we'll ask that you step into the back. Thank you. So are there any questions? Trustee Turley.
I was just going to move to approve.
Perfect. I have a first and I have a second from Trustee Navarro. Any discussion? Nope. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion passes 4012. Okay, so that concludes our deferred consent agenda items. And so now we do need to reconvene to closed session. And so I will recess this meeting for closed session at 8:42. Okay, thank you. And we are back at 9:26. And we do have a readout of closed session.
Under closed session agenda item 2.3, the board voted 4012 to approve the recommendation from district administration for full expulsion for student number 2425010. Closed session item 2.3, expulsion referral 2425011. Under closed session agenda item 2.3, the board voted 3202 to not approve the recommendation from District Administration for full expulsion for student number 2425011. Closed session item 2.3. Under closed session agenda item 2.3, the board voted 4012 to approve the recommendation of district administration for full expulsion of student number 2425012. Closed session item 2.3. Under closed session item 2.3, the board voted 4012 to approve the recommendation from district administration for full expulsion for student 2425013. Closed session item 2.7, public employee discipline, dismissal, release, leaves. Under closed session item 2.7, the board voted 5002 to approve the dismissal of classified employee ID number 9906. Closed session item 2.9, settlement agreement. Under closed session agenda item 2.9, the board voted 5002 to approve a settlement agreement. Closed session item 2.10. Under closed session agenda item 2.10, the board voted 5002 to approve a settlement agreement. Closed session item 2.11. Under closed session agenda item 2.11, the board voted 5002 to approve a liability claim. Closed session item 2.12. Under closed session item 2.12, the board voted 5005 to approve a liability claim. Motion number 1. Closed session item 2.4, I move to approve certificated personnel report as presented by district administration on June 25th, 2025 with 5 and 8 additional action items.
I second, and I call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstaining? That motion carries 4003.
Motion number 2, closed session item 2.5, I move to approve classified personnel report as presented by district administration on June 25th, 2025 with 5 and 4 additional action items.
I second. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries 4003.
Announcement number 1, PVUSD is pleased to announce the selection of Bernice Rubio as the new assistant principal at Lakeview Middle School. Bernice Rubio is an experienced educational leader with over 15 years dedicated to school counseling, student advisement, and K-12 college and career readiness. Currently serving as school counselor and activities director at Lakeview Middle School, she provides academic, behavioral, and social emotional support through counseling, SSTs, MTSS, and collaboration with families. She also coordinates school-wide events, student leadership programs, and activities designed to foster equity, inclusion, and a positive school culture. Bilingual in English and Spanish, Bernice utilizes strong communication skills and expertise in educational technology and student data systems to promote student achievement and well-being. Before her current role, Bernice served as a parent coordinator and student outreach lead at Latino College Preparatory Academy, where she organized parent workshops, outreach events, and strengthened family-school communication to support student success. Her previous experience also includes serving as a site coordinator for the Gear Up program at CSUMB, where she delivered college readiness curriculum, organized college visits, and built partnerships with universities and community organizations. Bernice began her career with the University of California, Santa Cruz EAOP program, providing academic advising, attendance support, and leadership development. She holds a master's degree in education, counseling, and student personnel from San Jose State University and a bachelor's degree in integrated studies from CSUMB. We're excited to have Bernice join the admin team at Lakeview. Go Eagles. Announcement number 2, PVUSD is pleased to announce the selection of Palmira Gallo as the new assistant principal at Pajaro Middle School. Palmira Gallo is a dedicated educator and proud product of Pajaro Valley Schools with nearly 3 decades of service to the PVUSD community. She received her bachelor's degree in psychology from UCSC, a teaching credential from the National Hispanic University, and a master's degree in education from San Jose State University. Palmira began her career as a group supervisor at the Santa Cruz County Juvenile Hall, gaining early experience in youth development and student support. Throughout her 28-year career with PVUSD, Palmira has held various roles supporting students and families across the district. She's worked in migrant education at Calabasas Elementary and Soldo and Renaissance High, providing essential academic and social supports to underserved students. Her leadership experience includes serving as an academic coordinator at both Calabasas and H.A. Hyde Elementary, where she's been instrumental in supporting student achievement and building school community partnerships. A proud graduate of Radcliffe Elementary, Alianza Elementary, E.A. Hall Palm Middle School and Watsonville High School. Palmyra is deeply committed to giving back to her community that shaped her. We're excited to welcome this experienced educator to her new site. Go Panthers! Announcement number 3, there's more. PVUSD is pleased to announce the selection of Alexis Persley as the new interim director of finance. For the last 2 years, Alexis has been serving as a staff accountant and most recently as a senior accountant for PVUSD. Prior to her current role, Alexis gained broad management experience in hospitality industry, including serving as a guest service manager at the Hilton Santa Cruz Scotts Valley and assistant general manager of the Hampton Inn and Suites, River Place in South Carolina. In these roles, she developed expertise in guest relations, operations management, employee training, and revenue analysis, consistently improving service quality and operational outcomes. Alexis holds a Bachelor of Science degree in marketing with a minor in management from Clemson University and is recognized for her exceptional communication skills, attention to detail, and ability to implement systems that enhance both client satisfaction and team efficiency. We're looking forward to Alexis joining the PVUSD management team in this capacity. Now it's done.
Thank you. Okay, and with that, I will announce that our next board meeting will be on July 16th, and it will be, as of right now, in our district office boardroom, unless we find a larger location. And with that, I now adjourn this meeting at 9:33. Thank you.
Yay!